The morning started like any other at the training facility. Sharp air, the metallic scent of the gym, and the low hum of activity as elite soldiers moved with precision. Yet in the corner of the room, a quiet figure drew no attention. She polished her gear with meticulous care, eyes calm, hands steady. But to Lieutenant Marcus Kane, she was nothing more than a shadow to Maka. Quiet, unassuming woman he could tease without consequence. His smirk had been sharpened over the morning, each jest a tiny dagger, each sarcastic remark a way to assert dominance over someone he deemed insignificant. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who is listening. She didn't respond. She didn't flinch. She simply continued her work, the faint sunlight catching on her polished equipment, highlighting a composure Marcus could neither understand nor appreciate. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms, relishing the amusement of the morning. Around him other soldiers whispered, some watching in suppressed giggles, some in quiet admiration of the woman who refused to engage. But Marcus felt emboldened by the silence. It seemed in his mind that she was defenseless. Her name was Lieutenant Commander Olivia Hayes, and every movement, every decision, every glance had been honed through years of experience, training, and unshakable discipline. She had seen arrogance like Marcus countless times before and knew how it unfolded. Overconfidence, distraction, and a lack of awareness would always betray a person. She had patience, and patience in situations like this was more powerful than any immediate retaliation. The training hall was alive with the sounds of preparation, boots scuffing against the polished floor, the quiet hum of radios, the distant clang of metal against metal. Dust motes danced lazily in the shafts of sunlight, yet every observer could sense the tension crackling like static in the air. Marcus had no idea that the lesson he was about to receive would be one of the most profound of his career. He leaned forward, attempting another jab, this time louder, more biting, certain that others would laugh with him. His voice cut across the room. "Come on, aren't you going to say something? Or are you just going to keep polishing?" The room fell quieter. A few soldiers held their breath. Olivia looked up slowly, eyes steady, and for the first time, Marcus felt the weight of awareness he had never encountered before. Silence stretched. The air seemed to thicken. Then, without raising her voice or showing a flicker of emotion, Olivia spoke. Her words were calm, deliberate. "Lieutenant Kane, your behavior this morning has been noted." A ripple moved through the hall, heads turned, eyes widening. Marcus blinked. He had expected sarcasm, a laugh, maybe a smirk in return. Instead, the calm authority in her voice pressed down on him like a tidal wave. The murmurs in the room grew as soldiers and instructors sensed the unspoken tension. Everyone instinctively leaned in, waiting for the fallout. Marcus felt a shift inside him, unease, disbelief, and a creeping realization that this woman was not merely an equal, but something far more formidable. It wasn't until the end of the morning briefing that the full revelation came. A senior officer, with impeccable timing, introduced her formally. Lieutenant Commander Olivia Hayes, Inspector General for this unit. The words fell like stones into the quiet pond of Marcus's confidence. Time seemed to stop. Every eye in the room focused on him, and he could feel the collective intake of breath. The man who had mocked her all morning suddenly felt very small, very exposed. He had underestimated her, assumed her silence was weakness. But Olivia's quiet had been deliberate, strategic, and revealing only what she chose. The moral tension in that room was tangible. Could arrogance survive the authority of experience and calm precision? The answer unfolded as Olivia continued to speak, outlining expectations, responsibilities, and the consequences for those who undermine discipline and respect. Marcus's mind raced. Each word struck like a hammer, reshaping his understanding of power, respect, and humility. He thought he knew the rules of the game, but she was redefining them in real time. The lesson was not only public but unforgettable. Authority is not just a rank it is earned, recognized and wielded with precision. She walked among them then, observing individual soldiers, her eyes sharp, but her demeanor unthreatening. The room remained silent, a collective tension hanging in the air, as if everyone knew that the display was both a warning and a teaching moment. Marcus felt his pride dissolve slowly. replaced with a grudging admiration and the dawning understanding that true strength often speaks in quiet tones. The climax of the day came during the practical exercise. Marcus, now acutely aware of every decision, every movement, faltered briefly under her watchful gaze. Olivia did not intervene, did not admonish, let him experience the weight of accountability firsthand. The observers, from fellow trainees to instructors, felt the lesson resonate. It was cinematic in its precision, the way authority moved, the way respect was demanded not by force but by presence, experience, and unwavering calm. By the end of the session, Marcus had been transformed, not broken, but humbled, not defeated but enlightened. He approached Olivia, voice steady, but tinged with respect. She nodded, her expression neutral yet acknowledging. The room seemed to exhale collectively, the tension dissolving into quiet applause, admiration, and understanding. Later, Marcus reflected on the morning. He had thought he could assert dominance through mockery, through noise, through arrogance. Instead, he had been confronted with a lesson that transcended punishment. It was about integrity, skill, and the invisible power of calm authority. The quiet woman he had underestimated had rewritten his understanding of respect and leadership. Because true power does not shout, it does not flaunt itself. It waits deliberate, and when the time is right, it reveals itself in moments that demand recognition. And in the quiet aftermath, as Marcus watched Olivia oversee the unit with unwavering focus, he understood something profound. Respect earned is far more enduring than mockery, and lessons learned in humility are the ones that never fade. Because authority is not in the loudest voice, but in the presence that commands attention, patience, and understanding. If this story stayed with you, tell us in the comments where you're watching from, and which moment left the biggest impact. Subscribe to Whispered Words for more cinematic mission stories, elite force lessons, and the human truths behind courage and leadership.